Hey everyone. I'm still trembling as I write this. I can hardly believe what happened to me and my family. But I need to share my horror story, hoping someone can make sense of it all. It all began with the unexpected death of my dad. We laid him to rest, burying his phone with him, as a memento of the life he had. But little did we know that the phone would be the key to something unimaginable. A few nights ago, I was awoken by a strange call on my dad's phone. Groggy and disoriented, I picked it up, and to my utter shock, I heard a voice that sounded exactly like my late father's. It spoke my name, and I felt chills running down my spine. I rushed downstairs to tell my wife about this eerie occurrence. As I explained, she was skeptical. But something outside the door caught her attention. There it was, a creature, pitch black with unnerving white eyes, staring directly at us. Its presence alone sent shivers through my body. The creature began to mimic my dad's voice, repeating things he used to say. It felt like a nightmarish parody. And my wife couldn't handle it. She peered through a crack in the door, her face filled with terror as she witnessed the malevolent being. Fear took over, and she threatened to call the police. In a panic, she dialed 911. But as she awaited their arrival, she grabbed a kitchen knife, probably hoping to defend us. However, nothing could have prepared us for what happened next. As if from the darkest corners of hell, the creature grew before our eyes. Towering over my wife, twice her height, it moved with unnatural grace and speed. And before she could react, it snatched her up and vanished into the night. The police arrived shortly after, finding me in a state of shock. All I could manage to mumble was, "It got her." Eventually, I recounted the horrifying events to them, hoping they could make sense of it or find some explanation. But how do you explain the existence of such a creature? My wife has been missing for 3 days now, and I'm lost and broken. I had to tell my kids that she's just gone for a while, trying to shield them from the terrifying truth. The authorities are doing their best to investigate, but I fear they won't understand the horror we face. I can't sleep, and when I close my eyes, all I see are those soul-piercing white eyes staring back at me. I can't shake the feeling that the creature might return, and I fear for the safety of my children. If anyone has any insight into what this creature might be or how to stop it, please, I beg you, share your knowledge. I wouldn't wish this nightmare upon anyone, and I'm desperate to protect what remains of my family. I was 12 years old when I first heard the whispers, the eerie voices that beckoned me from the darkness. My name is Emily, and I lived in the remote town of Willowbrook, hidden away in the Appalachian Mountains. I had long, raven black hair, and an insatiable curiosity for the supernatural, a fascination that would lead me down a terrifying path. It all began one gloomy evening, as I sat in my dimly lit room, surrounded by dusty old books and creepy artifacts I'd collected from various abandoned cabins scattered throughout the woods. My parents had always warned me to stay away from those cabins, but their words only fueled my obsession. That night, the wind howled through the dense forest outside my window, casting eerie shadows on the walls as I pored over an ancient, leather-bound tome. The words on its pages seemed to dance before my eyes, forming sinister incantations and forbidden spells. I couldn't help but read them aloud, my voice trembling as the words escaped my lips. As soon as I finished the incantation, The room grew colder, and a palpable sense of dread washed over me. It felt as though the air had thickened, and I was no longer alone. I turned to see a flickering candle on my desk, casting an eerie glow upon a shadowy figure that stood in the corner of the room. The figure was tall and gaunt, draped in tattered robes that seemed to melt into the darkness. Its eyes, two gleaming orbs of malevolence, fixated on me with a hunger that sent shivers down my spine. I wanted to scream, but my voice had deserted me. "Emily," it whispered, its voice a raspy, otherworldly murmur. "You called, and I have answered." I knew then that I had unleashed something unimaginable, something that should never have been allowed into our world. My heart raced as I tried to back away, but my legs wouldn't obey. The figure advanced slowly, step by agonizing step, its presence suffocating. "Who are you?" I finally managed to stammer, my voice trembling. The figure chuckled, a sound that seemed to emanate from the depths of a tomb. "I am the darkness that dwells within your dreams, the nightmare that has taken form. I am your deepest fear, Emily." I felt a cold, skeletal hand reach out, its fingers like icy tendrils, and I knew I had to escape with all the strength I could muster. I bolted for the door, crashing through it and stumbling into the hallway. But the hallway wasn't my home anymore. It had transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth of twisting corridors and shifting walls. The figure pursued me relentlessly, its shadowy form morphing and contorting with each passing moment. I ran, my breath ragged and my heart pounding in my chest, desperate to find a way out of this nightmare. As I turned a corner, I found myself face to face with a towering, grotesque creature, with eyes that glowed like hot coals. It lunged at me, and I screamed. And then I woke up, drenched in sweat, back in my own bed. It was just a nightmare, I told myself, gasping for breath. But the fear still clung to me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something malevolent had been awakened that night, something that now lurked in the shadows of Willow Brook, waiting to claim me.